Hello and thank you for stopping by. Today I'm going to show you how I removed this broken seized bleeder valve off this 2000 Chevy Blazer caliper. This repair stemmed from a domino effect. The other day I was driving, I stepped on my brake at a light. When I went to go again, I heard a grinding and the pistons on the caliper came out and they locked. I drove home with one brake dragging all the way and burnt out the pads. The boots on the pistons have to be replaced. I'll be rebuilding this caliper, but not in this video. That'll be in an upcoming video. But before I work on rebuilding this caliper, I want to make sure I could get this bleeder valve out, because I'm going to have to bleed these brakes once I do make this repair. Along the way, I'll be giving a couple of tips. If your bleeder valve has all corrosion around it, I think the best thing to do is to remove it from the wheel altogether and work on your bench for a couple of reasons. One, if you want to apply heat to it, you're not under the vehicle, you can watch what you're doing, you have more control on it. Two, if it's not as corroded as this is over here, you may be able to get a socket on it and just go back and forth and loosen it that way. And three, the fact that this is corroded like this now, I'm going to put either a nail in here or a drill bit, something that could fit in there, and use a pair of vice grips to see if I can loosen it up. I am going to apply heat on this. Now, I've removed these successfully before using just a propane torch, but depending how seized it is in there, this propane torch may not heat it up enough. A couple of methods you can try. One is to heat it up, then spray some water on it. Heat it up, spray some water on it. When you get it red hot, it shocks it and it breaks the rust binding between bleeder valve. I had to break away from this for a minute. Now, I do have penetrating fluid on here. I use a 50-50 mix of acetone and transmission fluid. Use whatever you normally use for your rusted nuts, but I find this to be the most effective. Now, if you're doing this and you're keeping it on the vehicle and it's still connected to your brake hose and everything, whatever you're spraying over here, when you're ready to open it up, you want to clean it out, because you don't want to contaminate the brake fluid with whatever you're spraying up here. I'm going to hit this a couple of times with a hammer to try to shock it. I'm going to heat it up with a torch. I'm going to tap it a few more times, and I'm going to put a drill bit in here. Now, you could use a drill bit, a nail, or whatever, and the reason for putting something in here is I'm going to use a pair of vice grips to grab this, and there's nothing left to this metal. This is all stripped out already. I tried with a pair of vice grips underneath and I did more damage. I should have took my own advice and pulled this out sooner. But with the drill bit in here, it's giving it a little bit more strength. Now, if I can't get it out this way, my next step, I'm going to use a grinder. I'm going to cut this down flush. I'm going to drill it out a little, and then I'm going to use an easy out and see if that'll come out. If that doesn't come out, my next step is to put a washer over this, a nut, and use a welder and weld the nut to the inside of the bleeder screw. By doing that, it'll give me something to put a wrench on. Plus, the heat from the welder is going to be a lot hotter than the heat that I'm putting out here. You prefer to have the heat on the outside, so the swelling opens this up. By putting the heat on the bleeder screw itself, it'll heat the bleeder screw, but it'll expand it and making it tighter. That's what I found out from doing a few of these along the way. I did one on a Saturn one time, wasn't anywhere near like this, and I actually heated it up and used the old candle trick with the wax. After putting that wax on, it came right out. It wasn't going to happen with this. So my next step now is to mount this into the vise, heat it up, and see what we can do. All right, I want to show this by constantly heating it up, adding water, heating it up, adding water, and then hitting it with a hammer. She finally broke free. I thought this easy out was going to break off on the inside of it. I was ready to back it out when she started to give way. Here it comes. And that's all it took. Man, this was in there. Don't go touching it now. It's hot. Before I do anything, after this cools down, is to remove the 2 pistons in this caliper to see if they're pitted. If they're not pitted, I'm going to clean this caliper down. I'm going to spray a lot of brake cleaner in here. I'll flush it out with some brake fluid, make sure it's clean, and I'll proceed to rebuilding the caliper. The best price I found was on Amazon for these bleeder screws. So I'll have the link for these down below. These may or may not fit your vehicle. You're going to have to check what size you need, but this was the best price. I forgot to mention this. After cleaning the outside up, I'm going to use a tap to clean out these threads to make sure they're clean, and then I'll use the brake cleaner and the brake fluid to flush out the inside of this caliper. You want to make sure this is clean before you put the new screw in, not to strip it and not to get any contamination in your brake fluid. So that's a wrap for now. If you have any questions or comments, post them down below. If you enjoyed this video, let me know. Give it a like. It helps. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe. Hit that Joe Z button. And until next time, stay safe.